All right, hello everyone out there in Oklahoma Sooner fan land. My name is Harry James Taylor. Today we're going to break down the third of the Oklahoma Sooner regular season football games. It's kind of a preseasonal breakdown. Of course, we'll do the official pregame later on, but this is just a breakdown and what to kind of expect from Tulsa, which is the third game. It's the third straight home game. Third home game before a big roadie at Notre Dame. But first, let's get through the Tulsa set. Only right here. 1982 Boomer Sooner. All right, the game is set to take place on the date of September 14th of 2013 at Owen Family Memorial Stadium at Gaylord Owen Family Memorial Stadium. It will be between the Oklahoma Sooners and the Tulsa Golden Hurricanes. The Tulsa Golden Hurricanes are coached by Bill Blankenship in his fourth year at TU. Last year's record was 11-3, including a 7-1 Conference USA Western Conference champion. In the title game of Conference USA, they beat University of Central Florida 33-27 to earn the outright Conference USA championship game. In the bowl game that they had, in the Liberty Bowl, they got back at one of those three losses that they had earlier in the year, Iowa State, in the Liberty Bowl, 31-27 win for Tulsa. Players that could be missed from this ball club, they include one named Alex Singleton. Singleton had 202 carries, 800 total yards, 24 touchdowns, and 48 as a long run as a running back for this franchise. Defensively for this franchise, it's going to be DeAndre Brown. He had $125 in tackles, an interception, and 0 forced fumbles or fumble recoveries last year. Speaking of last year this team averaged 34.7 points per ball game overall. And the Tulsa, Oklahoma history is that they've met 25 times. The University of Oklahoma has a winning record of 17-7-1 and 0 wins in conference, in that they are not in, or never have been in, the same conference. What about offensive players that are returning? Well, they have a former Nebraska quarterback, Cody Green, I should say. The former Husker, now Golden Hurricane, Cody Green, had 2,592 yards passing, 17 touchdowns last year. 74 of them was a long of a pass for Cody. Running backs, there are two of these guys that had the 1,000 yards, looking for 1,000 yards. A guy that passed it, Trey Watts, $187 in carries, 1,008 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns, and 77 of them came on one long run. Ladarian Douglas is the other running back. He had $137 carries, 936 yards, 7 touches, and 81 was his long. Now, if the first name, Trey Watts, if that name sounds familiar as far as Watts is concerned, it should. He is the son of former congressman of the great state of Oklahoma and former Oklahoma Sooner J.C. Watts, the former quarterback for Oklahoma, the Sooners of Boomer Sooner Land. The former Husker, Cody Green, he passes for 2,592 yards. He's got to have someone to pass to, right? Well, he does. Like Kieris Garrett. He had 67 of them. He caught 67 of those of his passes last year for a 845 yard average. 845 yards, 9 touches, 70 was the long on the year. Jordan James is the other receiver. He had returning at least. He had 41 catches, 568 total yards receiving, 2 touches. 42 was his longest pass. And also on third on the list would be Thomas Robinson. Robinson only had 29 catches, but he did have 489 yards and 4 touchdowns, including that 74-yard bomb that was thrown by Cody Green. He caught it. He caught that reception. Defensively for this team, the players that are up there in the 80s and 100s, a lot of them are gone. They only have 2 of them that are up there in the 80s and 100s this year. One of them, Sean Jackson, the middle linebacker, with 88 total tackles. He didn't have a pick last year, but he did have 3 forced fumbles and no fumble recoveries. As a defensive back, Marco Nelson had a little bit better of an altogether season. Marco Nelson had 80 total tackles, 2 picks, 1 fumble, and 1 fumble recovery on the year. This should be pretty interesting. Blankenship knows what he has. Sooner fans remember this was kind of like the coming out party of Damian Williams. Dominique Whaley a couple of years ago. Now Tulsa's back in town just before a huge key matchup at Notre Dame. If you sleep on this team, if you kind of say, well, we got Notre Dame next week, we can kind of take it easy, you better not. Like I said, this team went 11-3 last year. They went 7-1 in the conference, and they did beat a pretty good Big 12 team in Iowa State in their Liberty Bowl game to avenge an earlier loss, which, by the way, they only had 3 of last year. This has been a breakdown of the Tulsa Golden Hurricane game, the September 21st game of 2013 between Oklahoma and Notre Dame. That rivalry gets reissued next time around, but this time around, it was the University of Oklahoma hosting the Tulsa Golden Hurricanes. This has been Harry James Taylor for 1982 Boomer Sooner, everybody.